Scotty's Castle, Death Valley. Jerry said she wouldn't believe it. Do you believe it now, Jerry?
No, she rang it 3 times.
Yeah, that's because she didn't count well. Came out here because he wanted to be a cowboy. You know, ride a horse, have 2 guns and a big hat, typical cowboy, right? But at that age, guess what they do with it? They give you the chores. So he worked on the ranch here for a while with his chores, and then he also worked over here as a service team to made the countryside. He worked at the Harmony Borax Works down here, he worked at several places. But he ended up going up to Wyoming, and while he was in Wyoming, he was breaking wild horses. A tough job. But he did a good job of it, so well that a man came along and hired him to ride for Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show. Now, Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show had Indian chargers and cowboys running around and all kinds of exciting things happening. He traveled all over the country, all over the United States. Then he went to England, and then he traveled all over Europe with his Wild West Show. Well, he rode with Buffalo Bill for almost 12 years. But then one winter, when the show was closed because of the snow on the streets, Scotty took his young wife, a girl he called Jack. She hated the name, but she took it anyhow. And went to Cripple Creek, Colorado to learn the gold business. He was going to become rich and, you know, make a lot of money digging for gold. But you know when Jack found the gold? While he was out digging in the ground, she took a tour of the big mine and talked the tour director into giving her a couple of pieces of gold ore. Real expensive, good ore. Well, they went back to New York and got there the day that the big parade of Buffalo Bills was going down the street. Scotty missed it. Buffalo Bill was very, very angry. And he told Scotty, I'll got you a week's pay. But Scotty said, no, you won't. I quit. So he just quit. Went back to the hotel with Jack, and while he's sitting there wondering, what are you going to do? No job, no money. And he thinks of those 2 pieces of gold ore. He picks those up and he walks out the door. And he goes down to the office of a man named Julian Gerard. He was the vice president of the Knickerbocker Trust and Bank Company. And he put that gold ore on the table and he said, I've got a gold mine in Death Valley worth millions of dollars. And there's the order for it right there. Told you he was a carnival man, didn't he? Worked for Buffalo Bill, didn't he? He was a carnival. Well, Mr. Gerard believed him and gave him $1,500 to go develop this gold mine out in the desert. So Scotty picked up Jack and he got as far as Los Angeles, put Jack in a hotel, and then he hit every hot spot in town. He was having fun. Oh, was he having fun. Spending money like it was going out of style. He was really great. But as you guess, the money ran out. So he said back to Mr. Gerard, he said, you know, I traveled 40 miles across this desert, almost died of thirst because I had no water. And the world, to all my surprise, sent money. Mr. Gerard did. So Scotty writes back, when that money's gone, writes back and says, the Indians come along and stole all our jackasses. Took all the supplies with them. I need more money. I've got lots of gold here, but I need a team of 8 mules in order to get the gold out and send money. Well, eventually, Mr. Gerard got tired of sending money without seeing any gold, so he stopped giving him any. Well, Scotty had to look around for a new battle about that time, and he found one in a man called Howard Johnson. Albert Johnson was a graduate of Cornell University. He was a mining engineer. And he'd been in a train wreck, so he got looking at some mines, got the train wreck and had his back broken. And he healed it. He had a stiff back and a stiff left leg. And he had to give up being an engineer and bought into the National Insurance Company in Chicago and was soon worth $1 million a year. Well, he invested in Scotty. But when Scotty pulled the same kind of a deal on him, he sent word out to Scotty. He says, meet me out west. I want to see the mine. I'm an engineer. I want to see how good that mine really is. Scotty had a problem, didn't he? He could have made him up over here at Death Valley Junction, just 30 miles from Furnace Creek down there. But instead he met him in Daggett, 200 miles away across the desert. And then 120-degree temperatures started dragging him through the desert, up over the hill, down through the gullies, over the rock. Hoping he'd get tired and couldn't go home. But it didn't work out that way. You see, Mr. Johnson found the desert air agreed with him. The hot sun on his back, the movement of the mule he was riding made him feel better than he had in years, so he didn't. Well, they got as far as Windy Pass, down here at the back end of the valley here, and had a real problem and had to go back. Mr. Johnson went back to Chicago. He wasn't sure whether Scotty had a gold mine or not, but he felt, you know, that man is a gold mine. I never had such a good time in my life. I've always lived this little narrow life and lots of financing out here. It was real adventure out there. Working with bandits, highwaymen, and western desperados. That's Scotty could he cook. Good guy, good hunter, good companion, good storyteller too, I'm Well, when Mr. Johnson got back to that cold climate back there in Chicago, it began to bother him again. He says, I know the answer to that. He got hold of Scotty and said, send us up a vacation just for you know, Mr. Johnson made 14 trips out here in the desert over the next couple of years. He camped with Scotty all over the place. From the Last Chance Mountain, back into the funeral mounds here, the Grapevine Mountains, down in the Panamas, and they became real close friends, real partners. Then one day, Mr. Johnson says, A.M., that's what she called her husband, because his name was Albert Massey Johnson. A.M., you go out that desert again, I'm coming with you. You know, she came out and wrote. She can't drive there 3 times. But she got up one morning, she said, there's one thing about your desert I can't stand, A.M. I can't stand those creepy crawlers, those snakes you got going all over the place, and those big black spiders, those tarantulas, they give me the creeps. And you know, just this morning I turned my foot over and out came a big scorpion. You want me to come out in the desert with you, Mr. Johnson? You build me a vacation. So we started building a great big square house. And Scotty started saying, hey, it looks like you're going to be a castle there, Johnson. That's what he always called. I'm going to have me a real castle out here in the desert, ain't I, Johnson? But you know, in 1922, Mr. Johnson hired a man called McLeach, who was an interior decorator, to create what you see before you. And Scotty really got his castle. Shall we go look at the inside? Deputies, you're doing a good job. Thank you. You see why I deputized all around? You know, how'd you like to come into this room and see at a time when somebody like Scotty is sitting there in that chair there on a cold winter night, oh, say the temperature 25 degrees, that's real cold, but a cold wind blowing down that canyon, a big roaring fire sitting in there, and sit back and listen to a guy tell you stories that you can't believe. You come in here, you got the fountain down below, spread out that way, that water evaporates. And as it evaporates, it cools the room. It also does something else that's very important to be kept that way. Of course, when I first got here, straight out of the showroom floor. He wanted things from the Mediterranean style furniture. What did he do? He sent agents over to Spain and Italy, and he put all the decorations on top. But that's a wooden table, and it holds a copper bowl in the middle of it, of which in the Scotty did not live here at all. He has a ranch 4 miles down the canyon down here. That's where they keep all horses and animals and stuff like that. So he stays down there most of the time. And he ties, of course, he bought those ties 200 at a time to see.
want you to get up and walk like a duck.
Me?
Yes.
I always walk like a duck. What are you talking about? Do the duck walk.
Okay, Molly, let's do the duck walk.
Do the duck walk.